Hello, this is Drew Vernon with the Ep1.BFD team. I thought I'd do this quick video just to go over what comes with the BFD wooden snares pack. As you can see, we have all the snares in the list here. Currently, I don't have one loaded, and in the context of this short song, I'm just going to go around all of the snares and allow you to hear them in context. I'm going to go through the pure snares first. The pure snares are really intended for your kind of final mix. There's very little processing on them, and of course we also have the processed 1 and the processed 2 versions of each snare, which offer different levels of processing. So let's get going. Let's load up the Canopus 1-ply elm snare with the strainer off, and again this is the pure version. We could come down and we could load the strainer on equivalent of that snare. Moving down. Now we have the Canopus Zelkova snare with the strainer off. And again, this is the pure snare. Now the strainer on equivalent. Moving on to the Craviotto maple snare with the strainer off. And now with the strainer on. And now we have what is actually my personal favourite, the Gretsch walnut snare, strainer off, and again this is the pure. And then the strainer on version. And now we have the Noble and Cooley with the strainer off. Finally, with the strainer on, again the pure snare. So that was all of the pure snares. What about the process snares? We've got 2 levels of processing for every snare. Process 1 is kind of supposed to be quite transient heavy and quite compressed. So this is the Canopus 1-ply elm snare with the strainer off, but with that extra processing. Jumping over to the strainer on version. You can hear how there's extra compression and extra roundness to the tone of that drum. Jumping down to the Canopus Zelkova snare with the strainer off. Of course, processed 1. And now with the strainer. Moving on to the Craviotto maple snare, with the strainer off. And of course the first level of processing with this one as well. And now with the strainer. And now the Gretsch walnut snare with the strainer off. And strainer on. I love the low end on this particular snare. It's definitely my favourite one. Moving on to the Noble and Cooley. Processed 1 with the strainer off. And finally, strainer on. So I'm going to go through and just do the same thing for the Process 2 snares. Going back up to the Canopus 1-ply elm snare with the strainer off, Process 2. And the Process 2 snares, they're a little louder and a little more saturated. So that's wires off. Let's go to wires or strainer if you prefer. On. Zelkova off. Zelkova strainer on. And now the Craviotto maple snare with the strainer off. And again, these are all the Process 2 snares. And now the strainer on. Moving on to the Gretsch walnut snare with the strainer off. Now with the strainer on. Moving on to the Noble and Cooley with the strainer off. Once again, the Processed 2 snares. And finally, the strainer on. So, hopefully that gives you some idea of the variety of tones available within the BFD wooden snares pack. These are some of our most varied and dynamic snares, and I highly encourage people to check them out. Thanks very much. Please like and subscribe to the channel. and I'll see you next year.